Hello, welcome to this tutorial on Gliere, Opus 43, number 1, Prelude. It's part of 8 easy pieces for piano. I think this is absolutely one of the easiest pieces that you can play to pass grade 6 piano. It might not look that easy. So yeah, a lot of my students, they go, that doesn't seem that easy. But if you learn it as block chords, so let's just take bar 1, you can basically just play bar 1 like this. Well, the first half of bar 1. This is the first half of bar 1. If we play all the notes just at once, we've got that. Then the second half of bar 1, and then. So if you just learn it this way, so here you've got to do something slightly different. In bar 6, you've got to go, and then that B flat in the melody, you just add like that. And then, here we can jump up from that bottom note, and then and then this bit you've got to learn the more traditional way, but that's not so difficult. So that is pretty easy. And then we've got this bit just after all that widdly, just where we go with this whole tone arpeggio thing, augmented triad. And that is it. That is it. That's the piece. I mean, yes, you've got to learn. But I mean, basically, it's just this. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, so yeah, just that. And admittedly, these chords are not super easy to learn. There's 5 flats, there's some really unusual harmonies in there. And what I recommend is don't just spend ages reading it and not get beyond that. Memorize them. Just see if you can sit down and just go, whoops. That's with my eyes closed. And then with my eyes closed, let's see if I can still remember it. Yeah. Is it here? No. Okay, there we go. I haven't quite memorized it. Well, anyway. But yeah. I mean, I can almost play it, and I haven't even tried to memorize it. But it's all, you know, under my hands. So memorize the basic chord structure, which is all about how it feels and how it sounds. Then all you've got to do is just start going. And it's easy. You've learnt it. You've pretty much learnt the whole thing. So hopefully you can see now and agree that this is actually quite an easy piece to learn. Now, something I found difficult is like, oh, this is fine. This is dead easy. And under the smallest bit of pressure, i.e. recording the, by the way, I have already uploaded a performance of me playing this onto YouTube. I'll put a link above. Now, I did find that under a little bit of pressure, suddenly, I mean, it wasn't quite like that, but I couldn't play it evenly anymore. So that's a little bit of a challenge. Now, something I did not do, which I should have done, really should have done this, and you guys really should do this. If you just watched my tutorial that I did just before this one on C.P. Bach, I'm a huge fan of shifting accent practice. So we can go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Then you start with the same note, you start on the number 2 is quiet, the number 1 is loud, you go to 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Then you do the same thing in threes, where 1 is loud, 2 and 3 are quiet. The first way is dead easy because that's how you play it anyway. Don't spend too long on that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you shift it. You start on 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you work in small chunks. So you work in either half bars or bars. You gradually build it up. Then you can do it in fours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the time you've done all that, I clearly need to do it on this one. There's something about having the thumb on the black note that makes that a little bit lumpy, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and then it becomes completely even. Now it's even, yeah. I didn't do any of the shifting accent practice. I should have done it because then I'd have had no problem making everything super even and flowing. So incidentally, it's an interesting piece in that it's in D flat major. And doesn't this remind you of, whoops, whatever it is. It's been forever since I've played that, but yeah. Unusual harmony. And then here we've got unusual harmony. I'm absolutely convinced that Gliere decided he was basically going to rip off Clair de Lune. If I'm generous, he's doing a homage to Clair de Lune. He's using it as very strong inspiration. And then when we've got all of this, this augmented harmony. Augmented harmonies are very, very French. This makes me think he is copying the French style. And especially when you have this bit here, what is it? Whoops. Yeah. This just is French. It's so French. It's so Debussy. It reminds me of the bit that then goes into. Well, yeah, there's a bit that comes just before that. I can't quite remember what it is. So it's something really, really similar to that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but this is basically a rip-off of and in my opinion, this piece needs to really breathe and have tons and tons of rubato. Rubato is difficult. So grade 6 piece. I mean, if you look at all the other versions that are up on YouTube that other teachers have put, their versions tend to sort of go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you know, you can play it that way, and you can get a distinction playing it that way. But would you rather hear this? And this is like the way where it's all in time. Which is how I'm hearing everyone else play it. Would you rather hear it that way, or would you rather hear it this way? Oh, it's too much. It's too much. Okay, let me do it a little less. Whoops, we're wrong octave. But basically, there's tons of rubato. I'm really pulling it around. In my opinion, if you really pull it around, it's a list B piece. That you need to demonstrate that you can feel it, and I think that that's completely appropriate. Maybe that last time was a little bit too much rubato, but basically what I like to do, getting a little bit slower, and then we speed up, and as we go to the new harmony, we just slow down a bit, but not contrived. And I certainly think in bars 8 onwards that this needs to go fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, and then speed up, because none of this is that interesting. Slow, or getting slower. So, you know, it's... I'm feeling tempted to go down the rabbit hole of talking a lot more about this, but I think it goes way beyond the scope of this tutorial. How to get rubato? I think really the way to get rubato, it has to come from the heart, or from interoception of the chest, as I describe it to students who don't like woo-woo, airy-fairy. It's interoception of the chest. You've got to feel tension and release. It's all about tension and release. So even though it goes quieter, there's a bit of tension on this chord. There's mystery. There's mystery. And that mystery is like, we're a bit lost. Where are we? And then, we know where we are. We're a bit lost again. Whatever it is. And then, lost. We're like a bit forlorn, like going, I don't know. I don't know. We keep wandering off and going, where am I? And now we're back on track, so it all just flows. But it's all about the felt sense of tension and release. Way too much to go into in this video. If you're interested in lessons, I'm available for online lessons. I talk a lot about tension and release and rubato, and how we can really kickstart that whole process. Anyhow, so it's interesting looking at different editions. So the ABRSM edition, which you really ethically should have. My laptop has decided to freeze on me. What are you up to? Okay, and I'm back now, so sorry about that. So yes, the ABRSM edition uses what looks like would be the composer's own markings. And it seems to be based off the first edition. So I'm looking on IMSLP, where things are not strictly legal to have in the European Union. But the first edition seems to be the edition that the ABRSM edition uses. And it has very, very few markings. It has really few markings. And then on IMSLP, there's something that says urtext edition, which is like, usually you want to go for the urtext. Urtext meaning the thing that is closest to what the composer wrote. And when I look at the urtext, and this urtext edition here, which is editor Leonid Reusman or whatever, it's full of way, way more markings. So bar 1 has a crescendo, decrescendo, then there's a decrescendo in bar 2, and it's filled with all these extra markings that were not in the original first edition. So my recommendation, something that I quite like doing, is working from this edition that has way more markings, which something tells me is not what Gliere wrote, and then keep referring back to the first edition one, which is what ABRSM have used, and so in bar 1 it's P, it's quiet. And there's no crescendo, decrescendo. In this other version, it starts MF, and it crescendos, decrescendo, and then decrescendos a bit more. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff. I think that it's worth learning from this other edition, it makes it, especially for people doing grade 6, it's like having a teacher hold your hand for you and say, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? But there are a few things here that I think don't quite work. And for those, I'd refer back to the first edition one in the ABRSM. But for the most part, I basically followed this other edition just to save on time a little bit. So one of the interesting things to take away from this more heavily edited version is if you play it just as it's written in the first edition, but this crescendo, so we're emphasizing, and then and it also puts tenutos above these top notes, so above the C, above the B flat, above the A natural, so tenuto, 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 tenuto. So just learn it, just basically learn it from this other edition that you can download from IMSLP, which you can do knowing that you've paid for the ABRSM version, so you do have a legal version. But yes, learn it from this edited version, but if there's things you're not sure about, go back to the first edition. What else can I say? In the heavily edited version, something that I'm not so keen on, let me just see what's been suggested in the first edition. Oh gosh, I need to get a bit better at going through this. So yes, this is in the first edition. I don't like this. So we've got and then he writes crescendo. I'm really not convinced by that. I'm not convinced. I would do it the other way round. So specifically here, in the right hand, I'm getting quieter. And I understand why it's saying louder because it's going up, but I don't think so. I think it's just trailing away. So, you know, try it both ways. So this is the way that's written. Now, do you prefer that, or do you prefer my way, which is... and I would play it a little bit faster. Watch my rendition that I put on YouTube, because I quite like that. So that's one place where I'd just go a little bit away from what's written. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Really not a giant amount to say. Oh, yes, I added one sneaky extra note. I did talk in my last video about the tutorial for the solfeggetto, that my approach to stuff is there anything I think can be done better? Do I agree with everything that the composers put? And I'm not scared to sometimes go, I think this sounds better. But usually if I'm learning Beethoven, if I'm learning Rachmaninoff, Ravel, Chopin, Liszt, all my favourite composers, you know, I'll be thinking, do I like what they've done there? What about if I do this? But because they're all geniuses, I find that I pretty much never want to change a single thing of what they've done, a single marking, a single dynamic, because they're geniuses. But, you know, when I'm playing bits of this and I'm looking at Gliere's markings, I'm thinking, maybe this little tweak can work slightly better, because I don't think Gliere was a genius on the level of Beethoven, Chopin, you know, all these other people. So, if we go from very near the end, and the penultimate note, I think sounds so much better as an octave, going down to the bottom D flat. And then when I do this spread chord, just to be theatrical, I go and then ping the top note with my left hand, because it looks good. When someone is over there, when someone's to your right, and they watch you do that, and you end very theatrically, you're on the wrong side for that effect, and you do that. If you're having an ABRSM performance examination, they take into consideration so much of what people call stagecraft, how you visually communicate, and something like that will just instantly get you loads and loads of marks. So, you know, I recommend stuff like that. So we can go nice octave, and then let it float. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about how to end a piece, because that's a whole video in itself. But how to end a piece is so important, and will get you very, very valuable marks when you're doing ABRSM performance exams. So other than that, I don't think there's really a massive amount to say. I mean, you want to, right from the beginning, ask yourself, what is this piece expressing? What's it about? What's its character? Now, it's difficult to get it when you play it with all the as written. But if you play it in block chords, it sounds very Russian Orthodox church music to me. Maybe not so much here. A little bit there. Not here. This is now quite romantic. So when you're learning this in block chords, right from the beginning, be curious. Who is it? What is it? What are the moods? What's the emotions? This is quite religious. Religious in a beautiful way. Religious in that sort of, I don't know how many of you will have gone to a Russian Orthodox church or a Greek Orthodox church, but you know, it's just beautiful, beautiful atmosphere. Follow all the dynamics of this heavily edited edition. And then when you get to bar 8, really notice that there's a slur between this G and this F. So anytime you've got a slur between just two notes, you go lean and quiet, and then lean and quiet. So we've got quiet, lean, quiet, lean, quiet. Don't just go. It's got to be lean, quiet, lean, quiet. And it'll absolutely transform that moment. But you know, I think that it would take me quite a long time to really identify what really is the narrative. What's the mood going on here? It's really difficult because there's a lot of unusual chords in this, and so I know what the feelings physically feel like, but I can't quite put into words what those emotions are. I think there's a lot of daydreaming. There's a lot of not quite nostalgia, but like. Just feeling a bit lost, feeling a bit abandoned on the outside. I don't know. This is very warm, like a big hug. And it's almost like mystery, but it's like the mystery of the cosmos, of looking at the stars. Very warm, and then like, wow. There's something very otherworldly, like you're looking at galaxies. So it's like and I mentioned this the other day to a student. It's like you imagine a sci-fi film, but a really beautiful moment, just looking out at these galaxies and. Real mystery. This is now much more ordinary, and then I suppose there is this similarity to Clair de Lune, which is the magic of the moonlight, this extraterrestrial body, if you like. And then this is about the magic of looking at something beyond Earth. Yeah, I think I'm putting my finger on it a little bit closer. So, yeah, I don't think there's really an awful lot more to say than that. Great piece for grade 6 if you just want to pass it relatively easily. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions. If this video was useful and you liked it, do press like, do press subscribe. Please do leave some comments. People seem to be shy about leaving comments. And thanks very much for your time and watching the video. So take care. Bye.